Don't run around this world looking for a hole to hide in. There are wild beasts in every cave. If you live with mice, the cat claws will find you. The only real rest comes when you're alone with God. Live in the nowhere that you came from, even though you have an address here. That's why you see things in two ways. Sometimes you look at a person and see a cynical snake. Someone else sees a joyful lover, and you are both right. Everyone is half and half, like the black and white ox. Joseph looked ugly to his brothers and most handsome to his father. You have eyes that see from that nowhere, and eyes that judge distances, how high and how low. You own two shops, and you run back and forth. Try to close the one that's a fearful trap, getting always smaller. Checkmate, this way. Checkmate, that. Keep open the shop, where you're not selling fish hooks anymore. You are the free swimming fish. Think that you're gliding out from the face of a cliff like an eagle. Think you're walking like a tiger walks by himself in the forest. You're most handsome when you're after food. Spend less time with nightingales and peacocks. One is just a voice, the other just a color. The vigil. Don't go to sleep one night. What you most want will come to you then, warmed by a sun inside. You'll see wonders. Tonight, don't put your head down. Be tough, and strength will come. That which adoration adores appears at night. Those asleep may miss it. One night Moses stayed awake and asked, and saw a light in a tree. Then he walked at night for 10 years, until finally he saw the whole tree illuminated. Muhammad rode his horse through the night sky. The day is for work, the night for love. Don't let someone bewitch you. Some people sleep at night, but not lovers. They sit in the dark and talk to God, who told David, "Those who sleep all night every night and claim to be connected to us, they lie." Lovers can't sleep when they feel the privacy of the beloved all around them. Someone who's thirsty may sleep for a little while, but he or she will dream of water, a full jar beside a creek, or the spiritual water you get from another person. All night, listen to the conversation. Stay up. This moment is all there is. Death will take it away soon enough. You'll be gone, and this earth will be left without a sweetheart. Nothing but weeds growing inside thorns. I'm through. Read the rest of this poem in the dark tonight. Do I have a head and feet? Shams, so loved by Debrisians, I close my lips. I wait for you to come and open them. Two friends. A certain person came to the friend's door and knocked. Who's there? It's me, the friend answered. Go away. There's no place for raw meat at this table. The individual went wandering for a year. Nothing but the fire of separation can change hypocrisy and ego. The person returned completely cooked, walked up and down in front of the friend's house, gently knocked. Who is it? You. Please come in, myself. There's no place in this house for two. The doubled end of the thread is not what goes through the eye of the needle. It's a single pointed, fine down thread end, not a big ego beast with baggage. But how can a camel be thinned to a thread? With the shears of practices, with doing things, and with help from the one who brings impossibilities to pass, who quiets willfulness, who gives sight to one blind from birth. Every day that one does something. Take that as your text. Every day God sends forth 3 powerful energies, one from the sperm of the father into the mother, so growth may begin, 2 a birth from the womb of the ground, so male and female may spring into existence, 3 there's a surge up from the surface into what is beyond dying, that the real beauty of creating can be recognized. There's no way to ever say this. Let's return to the 2 friends whose thread became single, who spell with their 2 letters the original word, B. B and E tighten around subjects and objects that one knot may hold them. 2 scissor blades make one cut. And watch 2 men washing clothes. One makes dry clothes wet, the other makes wet clothes dry. They seem to be thwarting each other, but their work is a perfect harmony. Every holy person seems to have a different doctrine and practice, but there's really only one work. Someone listening to a millstone falls asleep. No matter. The stone keeps turning. Water from the mountain far above the mill keeps flowing down. The sleepers will get their bread. Underground it moves, without sound and without repetition. Show us where that source of speech is that has no alphabet, that spaciousness. Where we are now is a narrow fantasy that comes from there, and the actual outside world is even narrower. Narrowness is pain, and the cause of narrowness is manyness. Creation was spoken with one sound, B, the 2 letters B and E. To record it came after. The meaning of the sound and its resonance are one. There is no way to ever say this in so many words, and no place to stop saying it. Meanwhile, a lion and a wolf were fighting. All rivers at once. Don't unstring the bow. I am your 4-feathered arrow that has not been used yet. I am a strong knife blade word, not some if or maybe, dissolving in air. I am sunlight slicing the dark, who made this night, a forge deep in the earth mud. What is the body? Endurance. What is love? Gratitude. What is hidden in our chests? Laughter. What else? Compassion. Let the beloved be a hat pulled down firmly on my head, or drawstrings pulled and tied around my chest. Someone asks, how does love have hands and feet? Love is the sprouting bed for hands and feet. Your father and mother were playing love games. They came together and you appeared. Don't ask what love can make or do. Look at the colors of the world. The river water moving in all rivers at once. The truth that lives in Sham's face. Constant conversation. Who is luckiest in this whole orchestra? The reed. Its mouth touches your lips to learn music. All reeds, sugarcane especially, think only of this chance. They sway in the cane brakes, free in the many ways they dance. Without you, the instruments would die. One sits close beside you, another takes a long kiss. The tambourine begs, touch my skin so I can be myself. Let me feel you enter each limb bone by bone, that what died last night can be whole today. Why live some somber way and feel you ebbing out? I won't do it. Either give me enough wine or leave me alone, now that I know how it is to be with you in a constant conversation. Sublime generosity. I was dead, then alive, weeping, then laughing. The power of love came into me, and I became fierce like a lion, then tender like the evening star. He said, "You're not mad enough. You don't belong in this house." I went wild and had to be tied up. He said, "Still not wild enough to stay with us." I broke through another layer into joyfulness. He said, "It's not enough. I died." He said, "You're a clever little man, full of fantasy and doubting." I plucked out my feathers and became a fool. He said, "Now you're the candle for this assembly." But I'm no candle. Look, I'm scattered smoke. He said, "You are the sheik, the guide, and I'm not a teacher. I have no power." He said, "You already have wings. I cannot give you wings." But I wanted his wings. I felt like some flightless chicken. Then new events said to me, "Don't move. A sublime generosity is coming toward you." And old love said, "Stay with me." I said, "I will." You are the fountain of the sun's light. I am a willow shadow on the ground. You make my raggedness silky. The soul at dawn is like darkened water that slowly begins to say, "Thank you, thank you." Then at sunset again, Venus gradually changes into the moon and then the whole night sky. This comes of smiling back at your smile. The chess master says nothing other than moving the silent chess piece. That I am part of the poise of this game makes me amazingly happy. The lame goat. You've seen a herd of goats going down to the water. The lame and dreamy goat brings up the rear. There are worried faces about that one, but now they're laughing, because look, as they return, that goat is leading. There are many different kinds of knowing. The lame goat's kind is a branch that traces back to the roots of presence. Learn from the lame goat and lead the herd home. Father Reason. The universe is a form of divine law, your reasonable Father. When you feel ungrateful to him, the shapes of the world seem mean and ugly. Make peace with that Father, the elegant patterning, and every experience will fill with immediacy. Because I love this, I am never bored. Beauty constantly wells up, a noise of spring water in my ear and in my inner being. Tree limbs rise and fall like the ecstatic arms of those who have submitted to the mystical life. Leaf sounds talk together like poets making fresh metaphors. The green felt cover slips, and we get a flash of the mirror underneath. Think how it will be when the whole thing is pulled away. I tell only 1/1000th of what I see, because there's so much doubt everywhere. The conventional opinion of this poetry is it shows great optimism for the future. But Father Reason says, no need to announce the future. This now is it. This. Your deepest need and desire is satisfied by the moment's energy, here in your hand. craftsman pulled a reed from the reed bed, cut holes in it, and called it a human being. Since then, it's been wailing a tender agony of parting, never mentioning the skill that gave it life as a flute. Humble living does not diminish, it fills. Going back to a simpler self gives wisdom. When a man makes up a story for his child, he becomes a father and a child together, listening. Body intelligence. Your intelligence is always with you, overseeing your body, even though you may not be aware of its work. If you start doing something against your health, your intelligence will eventually scold you. If it hadn't been so lovingly close by and so constantly monitoring, how could it rebuke? You and your intelligence are like the beauty and the precision of an astrolabe. Together you calculate how near existence is to the sun. Your intelligence is marvelously intimate. It's not in front of you or behind, or to the left or the right. Now try, my friend, to describe how near is the creator of your intellect. Intellectual searching will not find the way to that king. The movement of your finger is not separate from your finger. You go to sleep or you die, and there's no intelligent motion. Then you wake, and your fingers fill with meanings. Now consider the jewel lights in your eyes. How do they work? This visible universe has many weathers and variations. But uncle, oh uncle, the universe of the creation word, the divine command to be, that universe of qualities is beyond any pointing to, more intelligent than intellect, and more spiritual than spirit. No being is unconnected to that reality, and that connection cannot be said. There's no separation and no return. There are guides who can show you the way. Use them, but they will not satisfy your longing. Keep wanting that connection with all your pulsing energy. The throbbing vein will take you further than any thinking. Muhammad said, "Don't theorize about essence. All speculations are just more layers of covering." Human beings love coverings. They think the designs of the curtains are what's being concealed. Observe the wonders as they occur around you. Don't claim them. Feel the artistry moving through and be silent. Or say, "I cannot praise you as you should be praised." Such words are infinitely beyond my understanding. A bit of embroidery. You have heard how the night is wide and long for the sake of lovers and thieves. We do the work of both. I steal pearls from the king's vault. Why be content with a piece of cloth? I am one of those subtle thieves who find a way up to the roof this night, when everything human beings love is here for the taking. There is nothing but your presence. Let this subject rest. Here is another story, strange and rare. If you have not seen Christ, listen to this as a white hawk hearing the drum flies back to the king, as a circle of gold is stamped with the royal crest and becomes a useful coin. When you first became treasure, you did not know that there is an informer who tells where every treasure is. Bring your value here openly. Don't pretend with prostrations or special commemorations or abstinence. Don't borrow a fancy shawl and sit wrapped in the corner saying, "I am Juniyard. I am the Bastami of this age." Give back what is not yours. No excuses, no pretext. Take in simple sunlight, be a bit of embroidery on Sham's sleeve. Limb shadows. You have polished the mirror that now you shine within. Any direction I look, I see your engraving. The sun asks the inward sun, when will I see you? At sunset? Why does reason keep me from drowning in your love? What use is this being rational inside majesty? As many earrings as are in the world, that's how many answers you give that question. You give the questions too. Any piece of broken pot handed me from you is gold. Every second the call comes. Who considers meanness within such generosity? During the day we slip in and out of your tree like limb shadows. At night we wait for dawn. Adam rushed to be punished because punishment was a kind of reconnection. There is an ocean inside surging with praise for you, but I close my eyes, hoping you will talk. Sheba's hesitation. Lovers of God, sometimes the door opens and a human being becomes a way for grace to come through. I see various herbs in the kitchen garden, each with its own bed: garlic, capers, saffron, and basil, each watered differently to help it mature. We keep the delicate ones separate from the turnips, but there's room for all in this unseen world, so vast that the Arabian desert gets lost in it like a single hair. In the ocean, imagine that you are Sheba trying to decide whether to go to Solomon. You're haggling about how much to pay for shoeing a donkey when you could be seated with one who is always in union with God, who carries a beautiful garden inside himself. You could be moving in a circuit without wing, nourished without eating, sovereign without a throne, no longer subject to fortune. You could be luck itself. If you would rise from sleep, leave the market arguing, and learn that your own essence is your wealth. A bowl. Imagine the time the particle you are returns where it came from. The family darling comes home. Wine, without being contained in cups, is handed around. A red glint appears in a granite outcrop, and suddenly the whole cliff turns to ruby. At dawn I walked along with a monk on his way to the monastery. We do the same work, I told him. We suffer the same. He gave me a bowl, and I saw the soul has this shape. Shams, you that teach us an actual sunlight. Help me now. Being in the middle of being partly in myself and partly outside. When I see you and how you are, I close my eyes to the other. For your Solomon seal I become wax throughout my body. I wait to be light. I give up opinions on all matters. I become the reed flute for your breath. You were inside my hand. I kept reaching around for something. I was inside your hand. But I kept asking questions of those who know very little. I must have been incredibly simple or drunk or insane to sneak into my own house and steal money, to climb over the fence and take my own vegetables. But no more. I've gotten free of that ignorant fist that was pinching and twisting my secret self. The universe and the light of the stars come through me. I am the crescent moon put up over the gate to the festival. Enough words. How does a part of the world leave the world? How can wetness leave water? Don't try to put out a fire by throwing on more fire. Don't wash a wound with blood. No matter how fast you run, your shadow more than keeps up. Sometimes it's in front. Only full overhead sun diminishes your shadow. But that shadow has been serving you. What hurts you blesses you. Darkness is your candle. Your boundaries are your quest. I can't explain this, but it would break the glass cover on your heart, and there's no fixing that. You must have shadow and light source both. Listen and lay your head under the tree of awe. When from that tree feathers and wings sprout on you, be quieter than a dove. Don't open your mouth even for a coo. When a frog slips into the water, the snake cannot get it. Then the frog climbs back out and croaks, and the snake moves toward him again. Even if the frog learned to hiss, still the snake would hear through the hiss the information he needed, the frog voice underneath. But if the frog could be completely silent, then the snake would go back to sleeping, and the frog could reach the barley. The soul lives there in the silent breath, and that grain of barley is such that, when you put it in the ground, it grows. Are these enough words, or shall I squeeze more juice from this? Who am I, my friend? The seed market. Can you find another market like this, where, with your one rose, you can buy hundreds of rose gardens, where, for one seed, you get a whole wilderness, for one weak breath, the divine wind? You've been fearful of being absorbed in the ground or drawn up by the air. Now, your water bead lets go and drops into the ocean, where it came from. It no longer has the form it had, but it's still water. The essence is the same. This giving up is not a repenting, it's a deep honoring of yourself. When the ocean comes to you as a lover, marry at once, quickly, for God's sake. Don't postpone it. Existence has no better gift. No amount of searching will find this. A perfect falcon, for no reason, has landed on your shoulder and become yours. Granite and wine glass. You are granite, I am an empty wine glass. You know what happens when we touch. You laugh like the sun coming up laughs at a star that disappears into it. Love opens my chest, and thought returns to its confines. Patience and rational considerations leave, only passion stays, whimpering and feverish. Some men fall down in the road like dregs thrown out. Then, totally reckless, the next morning, they gallop out with new purposes. Love is the reality, and poetry is the drum that calls us to that. Don't keep complaining about loneliness. Let the fear language of that theme crack open and float away. Let the priest come down from his tower and not go back up. Each note. Advice doesn't help lovers. They're not the kind of mountain stream you can build a dam across. An intellectual doesn't know what the drunk is feeling. Don't try to figure what those lost inside love will do next. Someone in charge would give up all his power if he caught one whiff of the wine musk from the room where the lovers are doing who knows what. One of them tries to dig a hole through a mountain. One flees from academic honors. One laughs at famous mustaches. Life freezes if it doesn't get a taste of this almond cake. The stars come up spinning every night, bewildered in love. They'd grow tired with that revolving if they weren't. They'd say, "How long do we have to do this?" God picks up the reed flute world and blows. Each note is a need coming through one of us, a passion, a longing pain. Remember the lips where the wind breath originated, and let your note be clear. Don't try to end it. Be your note. I'll show you how it's enough. Go up on the roof at night in this city of the soul. Let everyone climb on their roofs and sing their notes. Sing loud. Buoyancy. Love has taken away my practices and filled me with poetry. I tried to keep quietly repeating, "No strength but yours," but I couldn't. I had to clap and sing. I used to be respectable and chaste and stable, but who can stand in this strong wind and remember those things? A mountain keeps an echo deep inside itself. That's how I hold your voice. I am scrap wood thrown in your fire and quickly reduced to smoke. I saw you and became empty. This emptiness, more beautiful than existence, it obliterates existence. And yet when it comes, existence thrives and creates more existence. The sky is blue, the world is a blind man, squatted on the road. But whoever sees your emptiness, sees beyond blue and beyond the blind man. A great soul hides like Muhammad or Jesus, moving through a crowd in a city where no one knows him. To praise is to praise how one surrenders to the emptiness. To praise the sun is to praise your own eyes, praise the ocean. What we say, a little ship. So the sea journey goes on, and who knows where. Just to be held by the ocean is the best luck we could have. It's a total waking up. Why should we grieve that we've been sleeping? It doesn't matter how long we've been unconscious. We're groggy, but let the guilt go. Feel the motions of tenderness around you, the buoyancy. The guest house. This being human is a guest house. Every morning a new arrival, a joy, a depression, a meanness. Some momentary awareness comes as an unexpected visitor. Welcome and entertain them all, even if they're a crowd of sorrows who violently sweep your house empty of its furniture. Still, treat each guest honorably. He may be clearing you out for some new delight. The dark thought, the shame, the malice. Meet them at the door laughing and invite them in. Be grateful for whoever comes, because each has been sent as a guide from beyond. Who makes these changes? Who makes these changes? I shoot an arrow right, it lands left. I ride after a deer and find myself chased by a hog. I plot to get what I want and end up in prison. I dig pits to trap others and fall in. I should be suspicious of what I want. On Resurrection Day. On Resurrection Day, your body testifies against you. Your hand says, I stole money. Your lips, I said meanness. Your feet, I went where I shouldn't. Your genitals, me too. They will make your praying sound hypocritical. Let the body's doing speak openly now, without your saying a word, as a student's walking behind a teacher says, "This one knows more clearly than I the way." The core of masculinity. The core of masculinity does not derive from being male, nor friendliness from those who console. Your old grandmother says, "Maybe you shouldn't go to school. You look a little pale." Run when you hear that. A father's stern slaps are better. Your bodily soul wants comforting. The severe father wants spiritual clarity. He scolds you, but eventually leads you into the open. Pray for a tough instructor to hear and act and stay within you. We have been busy accumulating solace. Make us afraid of how we were. I honor those who try to rid themselves of any lying, who empty the self and have only clear being there. Like this. If anyone asks you how the perfect satisfaction of all our sexual wanting will look, lift your face and say, like this. When someone mentions the gracefulness of the night sky, climb up on the roof and dance and say, like this. If anyone wants to know what spirit is, or what God's fragrance means, lean your forehead toward him or her. Keep your face there close, like this. When someone quotes the old poetic image about clouds gradually uncovering the moon, slowly loosen knot by knot the strings of your robe, like this. If anyone wonders how Jesus raised the dead, don't try to explain the miracle. Kiss me on the lips, like this, like this. When someone asks what it means to die for love, point here. If someone asks how tall I am, frown and measure with your fingers the space between the creases on your forehead, this tall. The soul sometimes leaves the body, then returns. When someone doesn't believe that, walk back into my house, like this. When lovers moan, they're telling our story, like this. I am a sky where spirits live. Stare into this deepening blue, while the breeze says a secret, like this. When someone asks what there is to do, light the candle in his hand, like this. How did Joseph's scent come to Jacob? Whoo. How did Jacob's sight return? Whoo. A little wind cleans the eyes, like this. When Shams comes back from Tabriz, he'll put just his head around the edge of the door to surprise us, like this. Two kinds of intelligence. There are two kinds of intelligence. One acquired as a child in school memorizes facts and concepts from books and from what the teacher says, collecting information from the traditional sciences as well as from the new sciences. With such intelligence, you rise in the world. You get ranked ahead or behind others in regard to your competence in retaining information. You stroll with this intelligence in and out of fields of knowledge, getting always more marks on your preserving tablets. There is another kind of tablet, one already completed and preserved inside you, a spring overflowing its spring box, a freshness in the center of the chest. This other intelligence does not turn yellow or stagnant. It's fluid, and it doesn't move from outside to inside through the conduits of plumbing learning. This second language is a fountainhead from within you, moving out. Two ways of running. A certain man had a jealous wife and a very, very appealing maidservant. The wife was careful not to leave them alone ever. For 6 years they were never left in a room together. But then one day, at the public bath, the wife suddenly remembered that she left her silver wash basin at home. "Please go get the basin," she told her maid. The girl jumped to the task, because she knew that she would finally get to be alone with the master. She ran joyfully, she flew, and desire took them both so quickly that they didn't even latch the door. With great speed they joined each other. When bodies blend in copulation, spirits also merge. Meanwhile, the wife back at the bathhouse, washing her hair. "What have I done? I've set the cotton wool on fire. I put the ram in with the ewe." She washed the clay soap off her hair and ran, fixing her chador about her as she went. The maid ran for love, the wife ran out of fear and jealousy. There is a great difference. The mystic flies moment to moment, the fearful ascetic drags along month to month. But also, the length of a day to a lover may be 50,000 years. You can't understand this with your mind. You must burst open. Fear is nothing to a lover, a tiny piece of thread. Love is a quality of God. Fear is an attribute of those who think they serve God, but who are actually preoccupied with penis and vagina. You have read in the text where "they love him" blends with "he loves them." Those joining loves are both qualities of God. Fear is not. What characteristics do God and human beings have in common? What is the connection between what lives in time and what lives in eternity? If I kept talking about love, 100 new combinings would happen, and still I would not say the mystery. The fearful ascetic runs on foot along the surface. Lovers move like lightning and wind. No contest. Theologians mumble rumble dumble, necessity and free will, while lover and beloved pull themselves into each other. The worried wife reaches the door and opens it. The maid, disheveled, confused, flushed, unable to speak. The husband begins his 5 times prayer. The wife enters this agitated scene as though experimenting with clothes. The husband holds up some flaps and edges. She sees his testes and penis so wet, semen still dribbling out, spurts of jism and vaginal juices drenching the thighs of the maid. The wife slaps him on the side of the head. Is this the way a man prays, with his balls? Does your penis long for union like this? Is that why her legs are so covered with this stuff? These are good questions she's asking her ascetic husband. People who renounce desires often turn suddenly into hypocrites. The sunrise ruby. In the early morning hour, just before dawn, lover and beloved wake and take a drink of water. She asks, "Do you love me or yourself more?" Really, tell the absolute truth. He says, there's nothing left of me. I'm like a ruby held up to the sunrise. Is it still a stone, or a world made of redness? It has no resistance to sunlight. This is how Halaj said, I am God, and told the truth. The ruby and the sunrise are one. Be courageous and discipline yourself. Completely become hearing and ear, and wear this sun ruby as an earring. Work. Keep digging your well. Don't think about getting off from work. Water is there somewhere. Submit to a daily practice. Your loyalty to that is a ring on the door. Keep knocking, and the joy inside will eventually open a window and look out to see who's there. The question. One dervish to another. What was your vision of God's presence? I haven't seen anything, but for the sake of conversation, I'll tell you a story. God's presence is there in front of me, a fire on the left, a lovely stream on the right. One group walks towards the fire, into the fire, another toward the sweet flowing water. No one knows which are blessed and which not. Whoever walks into the fire appears suddenly in the stream. A head goes under on the water surface. That head pokes out of the fire. Most people guard against going into the fire, and so end up in it. Those who love the water of pleasure and make it their devotion are cheated with this reversal. The trickery goes further. The voice of the fire tells the truth, saying, I am not fire, I am fountainhead. Come into me and don't mind the sparks. If you are a friend of God, fire is your water. You should wish to have 100,000 sets of moth wings, so you could burn them away, one set a night. The moth sees light and goes into fire. You should see fire and go toward light. Fire is what of God is world-consuming, water, world-protecting. Somehow each gives the appearance of the other. To these eyes you have now, what looks like water burns. What looks like fire is a great relief to be inside. You've seen a magician make a bowl of rice, seen a dish full of tiny live worms. Before an assembly with one breath, he made the floor a swarm of scorpions that weren't there. How much more amazing God's tricks. Generation after generation lies down defeated, they think, but they're like a woman underneath a man, circling him. One molecule mote second, thinking of God's reversal of comfort and pain is better than any attending ritual. That splinter of intelligence is substance. The fire and water themselves, accidental, done with mirrors.